And welcome to Exploring the Wisdom of the Force. I'm your host, Greg Fisher. Um, this video today is just a little teaser for the program that will be starting on Monday, May 4th, where we'll be exploring 10 iconic quotes from the Star Wars movies that come from my book, The Wisdom of the Force, Lessons from a Galaxy Far, Far Away. And I thought what I'd do is, by way of demonstrating what that program is going to look like. It's going to be over the course of 5 weeks, where we'll cover 2 quotes each week. And so I figured I'd take 2 bonus quotes that I had, and I'll do these little teaser sessions today. Well, let's see. We're going to show the inspiration clip that this is from right now.
No. We'll never get it out now.
So certain are you? Always with you what cannot be done. Do you nothing that I say?
Master, moving stones around is one thing. This is totally different.
No different. Only different in your mind. You must unlearn what you have learned.
All right, I'll give it a try.
I'll stop it right there because I don't want it to go into another quote that is part of the program. And you Star Wars fans out there can probably guess what that next line is. But this part, it's actually a quote that I had forgotten about until I watched this video to get the other quote that I'm talking about that shall not be named at this point. And this, you must unlearn what you have learned line, it really struck me. And so that's the line that we're going to go with and be exploring today. And in order to do that, what this program is based on, like I said, is the quotes and the content from my book, but also the songs that those quotes inspired me to create with AI, using ChatGPT to write lyrics, and then Suno.ai to create the music. I do want to walk you through, here's what the process of this program is going to look like. So we're going to watch the clip, which we just did. I'll put the lyrics in the chat or the comments if I'm posting this on Facebook, say. We'll listen to the dark side version of the song, then the light side version of the song. Then we'll have a little discussion about what lyrics stood out to you or resonated with you and why. In this teaser session, there's no audience, just myself, so I'll be reflecting on the lyrics. And then we'll go through the reflective questions related to this quote. And in this case, there are 4 questions, and I'll be sharing some of my thoughts on those. And anyway, you'll have a pretty good idea of what this is going to be like over the course of the 5-week program once we do that. So we've just watched the clip. The lyrics, like I said, have been pasted into the chat. And next is we're going to go into the music. And in order to consume the music or share it, I've built an app where the whole album is available. So on week 1 of the program, on May the 4th, I'll be sharing the link to this album. And you can listen to the songs for that particular week, or you can listen ahead if you feel so inclined to do so. And we're going to go into the album and into the songs. And we'll scroll down and we'll start with Unlearn, the dark side version. Here we go.
You must unlearn what you have learned. was me, was never all I had to be. Maybe nothing's gone away. Maybe it was always this way. And what I feared I'd leave behind was just a story in my mind. Was just a story in my mind. I will unlearn what I have learned, and in that space I feel the turn. Not who I was, not who I'll be, just something simple, something free. I will unlearn what I have learned, and now I see what once I blurred. There's nothing here I need to chase. I was always in this place. Unlearn what you have learned.
Right. That's the dark side of the Force. Now we're going to listen to the light side. Well, you'll notice there's for most of the songs anyway, there's a very stark contrast between the style of the songs as denoted by dark and light. But here we go. Unlearn, the light side version.
You must unlearn what you have learned. I've been building on these truths. Every step has led me through. Everything I've come to know is the ground I stand upon. If I question what is real, if I loosen what I feel, who am I without these lines? What's left if I unwind? You say there's another way, but I don't know how to see it. If I let this all fall away, will there be anything beneath it? You must unlearn what you have learned, but everything in me wants to hold the turn. If I let go, I lose my place. If I release, who do I face? You must unlearn what you have learned, but all I know is what I've earned. It feels like truth, it feels like ground, even when it weighs me down. There's a quiet I can't deny in the space between the lines, like a glimpse I almost see, then it slips away from me. Every answer feels less sure, like it doesn't fit no more. What I held so tightly to isn't holding like it used to. What if I don't need to fight? What if I don't need to solve it? What if letting go is right and there's nothing there to fall with? You must unlearn what you have learned, and maybe that's the way I turn. Not by force, not by control, but by loosening what I hold. You must unlearn what you have learned and feel the space I never earned. Not something new for me to find, just something clearer in my mind. Maybe I'm not losing ground. Maybe I'm just turning around. Maybe what I thought was me was never all I had to be. Maybe nothing's gone away. Maybe it was always this way, and what I feared I'd leave behind was just a story in my mind. I will unlearn what I have learned, and in that space I feel the turn. Not who I was, not who I'll be, just something simple, something free. I will unlearn what I have learned, and now I see what once I blurred. There's nothing here I need to chase. I was always in this place. Unlearn what you have learned.
I'm going to be really curious to hear how people react to the two different versions. I'm amazed with the the fact that identical lyrics in both songs feel and sound so different. It kind of amazes me. Anyway, we'll spend a little bit of time now discussing the lyrics themselves. And I made some notes for myself. The way this song is composed is it starts off kind of reminiscent of Luke's response to Yoda when he's trying to teach him that lifting the ship out of the swamp is possible, and in Luke's world it's not possible. He's got a map of the world that says lifting a ship and lifting rocks are two different things. And of course, Yoda's response is that's only in his mind, and it's like that so often for us. So this is the lines in the song is um, everything I've come to know is the ground I stand upon. Like we believe that our map of the world is the map of the world. It is reality, and there is no other map. Like this is the map. What are you talking about? And it becomes almost part of our identity. If I question what is real, if I loosen what I feel, who am I without these lines? What's left if I unwind? And this idea that we relate the way we see the world to our identity very closely. And speaking to you as a coach, that's what I work on with my clients on all the time is kind of getting a little wedge in between the identity and the perceived reality. And because often the way we perceive the world, the way we are creating our experience of the world is what's getting in the way of what it is that we want. Um, and this whole, and then as the song continues, it's kind of like that the hold that those beliefs have is loosening. And then in the end, the final chorus says, I will unlearn what I have learned. And in that space, I feel the turn, not who I was, not who I'll be, but something simple, something free. And it is very freeing to realize that uh, we are just looking at and living through a map of the world and understanding of how the world is. That when we created it, innocently so, um, it was fit for purpose. Then I kind of think of a metaphor for it, like, say you grew up in a certain town and then you moved away, and you come back 20 or 30 years later. Well, you'll have the mental map of the town still in your head, but at least where I grew up, the town is a lot different. There's a lot more streets. There's a lot more houses, buildings, kind of key landmarks that were there 20, 30 years ago are no longer there. There's something else there. Like the territory has changed, and it's a reminder of a great quote that I heard through Stephen Covey. I'm not sure where it originates, but the map is not the territory. And um, that's what this song is pointing to. Unlearn, you must unlearn what you have learned is uh, you must um, accept or be open to uh, getting a new map. and not just this isn't just a one-time thing either. Like, um, and I've seen this. It's funny, my kids just moved home from university, but I'm looking back at all these life stages of my kids and things that I believed were the way I should be as a parent, and the lessons I should teach them, and the things that were important. Um, all these years later, some of those things still look important. A lot of them look like complete nonsense. And I realized in my own parenting, a lot of the map of the world I had for what parenting would look like came from my own parents or my grandparents, handed down to my parents, and so on. And with each generation, we have an opportunity to uh, re- rewrite those maps of how we want things to be. So that's the lyrical review. And next, we're going to go into the reflective questions. So these are questions that are, you know, targeted around the theme and the details of this quote from the movie, and then the song that was created from it, and the book that was written about it by me. And the first question is, what assumptions about yourself or the world are you holding on to as if they're facts? And as you're thinking about this, a good place to start is listen to your language, whether it's language you're actually verbalizing or just language in your head. But anytime there's something, I can't do this, I can't do that, that's a hint. Or I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do that. There's some kind of rule in place um, that may or may not be true. Sometimes there are rules that are real and that they're part of the law, and if you break them, there will be consequences. But a lot of times we come up with rules that are just completely made up. It's good to know the difference. If something feels scary, or you catch yourself saying, "Well, that's too scary to do," or "too risky," that's another hint. Or "that's not me," or "that's out of character." Again, those are identity statements, and it's worth asking: are those things true? Um, we do things all the time that are out of character. Maybe sometimes it's work related, where we get put into a position. Some people might say, "Well, I'm not a public speaker," and all of a sudden you find yourself in a job that requires you to get up in front of a group of people and speak, and it might scare the crap out of you, but you're getting paid to do it, and ultimately you do it and survive it. So, and then that might become your new identity, that you are a public speaker, that kind of thing. Anyway, for me, the one that came to mind was, I had a long standing belief that I hated traveling. Um, I was quite adamant about it, and every experience that I had traveling, and earlier in my career, I worked for a grocery retailer, and we used to go on annual retailer trips. So I got to go to Cancun and Costa Rica, like beautiful places in the world. Um, didn't have to spend any money; it was all paid for by the company. Got to bring my wife, and certainly enjoyed myself while I was there. But I always had this view of traveling, that whatever pleasure or relaxation I could find during the vacation, it was completely negated by the getting there and the getting home, because I hated it. I hated getting to the airport early, going through security, going through customs, uh, delays with flights, sitting in a cramped plane, um, plane food, every aspect of it. I just hated it, and much to the chagrin of my wife, who loves traveling. Anyway, more recently, I was in a conversation with a coaching colleague of mine who's in Australia, who loves traveling, so the complete opposite. And basically, he was sharing a story with me of he was doing some recent traveling, and he even decided that when he got to his destination, instead of hiring an Uber or getting a taxi to get to his ultimate destination, he was going to create a little adventure and take public transit, and really get to see the city, and how the locals traveled. And I mean, to me, that was like never a thing that I would think of doing. Anyway, it added so many layers of interest and experience to his overall trip. And as I saw that, I witnessed him telling me this story, and could feel the joy and the pleasure that brought him. And then he invited me to be open to the possibility that the getting there and coming back isn't a chore. I could treat it more as an adventure of its own. It's part of the experience, and and that shifted something for me. And since that conversation, I've had two trips from Toronto to London, England, and um, I'm not going to say I found them thoroughly enjoyable experiences, the traveling part of them, but I can honestly say I don't hate traveling anymore. Um, it's uh, um, it's completely changed my outlook on the whole experience. Uh, I used to look for opportunities to prove that traveling sucked, and um, and now I'm looking for opportunities to enjoy myself, to take that quiet, reflective time, read books, listen to music or podcasts, or just sit quietly and patiently wait. So that's reflective question number one. Number two, where in your life might you be relying on an outdated map? Um, so for me, the thing that comes up on this one, as I mentioned earlier, my kids are back from university. My daughter's graduating and looking for her first career job. My son's in a marketing co-op program and looking for a co-op job. And I find myself saying things to them about just get a job, don't be so picky, all this kind of stuff. And then as soon as those words come out of my mouth, I think to myself, man, I sound like my dad. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of things I'm like my dad in that I think are wonderful. And I'm grateful to have had him as a model in my life. But there's other things where it's like, yeah, I really don't want to be like my dad in these areas. Or I just question, like, is my dad's map of the world when it came to getting a job the same map of the world that I want to hand down to my kids? Um, I'm a coach now and have been for the last, I guess, 5 or 6 years, whatever it's been. And before that, I spent 25 years or whatever it was in the grocery retail and retail analytics businesses, and did a little bit of entrepreneurship and real estate in the middle there. But um, what I found now and what I'm doing now is it's as fully aligned to what I'm passionate about as anything I've ever done. And you know, maybe my life would have been a little bit different if I hadn't have just had this mentality. If somebody's willing to hire you, just take the job. It doesn't matter what it is. Just start getting a paycheck and figure it as you go. And it's not that I regret what I've done. I truly believe that I am where I am now and who I am now because of all the experiences that I had, and I wouldn't change it even if I had the chance to. But as I consider um, advising and helping my kids get their careers off the ground, um, how hard do I push in that way of thinking? How much of this outdated map do I give them? Certainly, the map, my map from when I graduated in 1995, is out of date. I mean, the internet barely existed, uh, cell phones barely existed, smartphones did not exist. Um, this whole economy that's been built around social media and the internet didn't exist. So yeah, my map for sure is out of date. Question three, what beliefs, habits, or truths could you start to question or unlearn? And the thing that occurred to me that is, for almost the entirety of my career, I honestly believed that if you worked hard and did good work and were loyal to your employer and put in the effort, that everything would be fine. Like the idea that uh, employers employers only get rid of people that are not pulling their weight, not performing, that kind of thing. And then very late in my career, I went through a number of structure changes in companies, and I saw firsthand, oh, that's not how it actually works. Um, and it seems to be the case still today. Is companies are getting rid of people for all kinds of reasons that have nothing to do with the individual at all. as I sit here recording this today, I just saw something yesterday. Rogers Communications, which is a big television internet provider here in Canada, I think I read that they're letting go of something like half of their people. Um, are there some stragglers in that half? Sure. But I would wager to guess that most of those people are really good, competent, hardworking, dedicated people. And through no fault of their own, um, overnight their jobs are vanishing. So um, I no longer subscribe to this belief of working hard and do good work and everything will take care of itself. It's definitely morphed, and I'm curious to see how this one plays out in my kids' careers. And last but not least, question 4: how might your life expand if you made space for something new to emerge? Um, and this theme with my kids is kind of, for me, tracing through all these questions. But really, what I have landed on after reflecting on these questions is just, you know, I can be there for my kids and give them some advice and point them in a certain direction, but I need to let go and just let them discover for themselves what works for them, um, knowing too that they are fully capable and have an innate resilience to roll with the punches. Life is a contact sport. There's going to be ups and downs. I can't protect them from the downs, nor should I necessarily want to. I know in my own life, I learned a hell of a lot more from the downs than I did from the ups. Um, so just letting go and seeing how that expands and improves my relationship with my kids. So that's what it's going to be like over the next 5 weeks. Each week we'll do 2 quotes. So that was an example of one quote. Before the end of the week, I'll do another teaser example on another quote. And then on Monday, May 4th, the whole journey starts. So I'd love for you to join me. We're going to go over 10 quotes, 20 songs over 5 weeks with this same process that I just demonstrated here. You'll have all kinds of new insights and see all kinds of new possibilities, I'm certain. Get more information at teamuyp.com/wisdom of the force. That's wisdom dash of dash the dash force. teamuyp.com/wisdom of the force. Or you can just go to teamuyp.com. There's a little button or banner at the top that you can click on to get to the site. And I'll have links and things on my social medias too. Anyway, I hope this little teaser session helped set the stage and got you curious and interested in this program. May the force be with you. I'll see you on May the 4th.